Hi guys, today is the 10th of July 2021 and it's 52 minutes past 9 in the evening over here in the UK. I'm making this quick video about July 11th and the potential death of Donald Trump or something happening to him, something major, some sort of event, and other things as well. I've looked at the history of the 7-Eleven number, that I have looked at the history of the 7-Eleven number over the years that I have done, sorry, and it looks as if I have a very strong connection with blackout, tsunami. There's New York, London reference, something with the royal family as well, an incident at a football game, um, maybe around half time. So yeah, there's a couple of things that I've looked at over the years. There's 18 videos when I typed in 7-Eleven, 18 videos I've done over the years, and a lot of them seem to be connected with a blackout and football game explosion or something like that, tsunami generated by maybe volcanic eruption or earthquake or possibly connection with both, lots of different things. Um, One of the places I've taken this 7-Eleven number from in this video is this scene here. I've chosen this one because it's got a few over here, 7 backwards, or not backwards actually, 7 and 11 going backwards, and then you've got 7 upside down and 2 marks over here which could represent another 11, which is again 7-Eleven. Over here potentially again 7-Eleven. That 7 looks a bit funny, but I count it just because it seems they've got it on one side, the back, and the other side. Then the scene goes dark, and we've got a lot of connections with the New York for one, obviously the Big Apple, but also with the UK. I think more connections with the UK than we seem to have with New York in this scene. Alice in Wonderland, UK author, seems to be kind of what we've got referenced here. The checkered floor, Freemasons started in the UK, the apple, which was taken from England to the United States. So a few connections there, and then it rolls on, and we see we've got the pound coin reference as well. So that kind of brings up a lot of English references as well as potentially the English rose. Um, if that's the case, we could be looking at an incident in the UK or in the United States, of a blackout, some sort of event that takes out the lights. I'm not sure if it's the electricity in total, but certainly the lights seem to be affected. Torchlight follows the apple across the ground, suggesting that that's the only available source of light. As I mentioned, the pound coin is down here below the foot of Obama. There's a lot of different references to this particular thing, but I've had one thought over the time, which is a bit of it is covered, and it is a coin, so potentially Bitcoin. I'm not sure what that means, but we'll see. Um, if we're looking for another 7-Eleven, as the apple opens, we've got that 7 and 2 seeds on one side, which could give us a 7-Eleven reference, and then we could have another reference incorporating the other side of the apple, which I'm not discussing in this video. We've discussed plenty of different interpretations over the years. Feel free to look back through the history of the videos. In association with the football game, tomorrow England and Italy play over here in the UK at Wembley Stadium, and they're in the finals. That's one matchup I've been keeping an eye out for so long because of the English references and also the Italy reference, with the foot being the shape of the country of Italy, and the apple next to it, when it's whole, resembles or is supposed to represent an island, and on that island is a volcano. Now that is geographically correct. If you look at the map, if you see Italy the shape of a boot or the shape of a foot, next to it there's a little island, and on that island is Mount Etna. If it's referencing another volcano and another island, it could be just a little bit further up the coast of Italy, and that could be referencing the volcano Stromboli. I've looked at both and I keep an eye on both, but Mount Etna seems to be the one that's really referenced here. Mount Etna is at the tip of the tip of Italy, which is basically the tip of the boot. So that seems to be where we're going just here. The suggestion is the volcano depicted on the apple, which is the island, erupts and causes the volcano to split or the flanks to collapse. This is depicting a tsunami being generated from that event, which would affect the Mediterranean, or the country's coastlines in the Mediterranean, and possibly a little bit further outwards if it channels out. It's a very narrow exit out of the Mediterranean, so I don't expect much damage to be, I don't expect any more damage to be outside of that area. But tomorrow, yeah, as I said, football games happening. The apple rolling across the floor, hitting the foot, just resembles that kind of motion, football. The England-Italy reference, we do have that happening tomorrow. Tomorrow is 7-11, and there could potentially be an event, an explosion, for example. This may not only be depicting a volcanic eruption, but also a bomb of some kind, and that could be at a football game. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm certainly going to keep my eyes open. Obviously, with the most recent videos, my focus has been on Donald Trump and the death of Donald Trump, or some sort of incident happening to him, an aneurysm, something to do with his brain, I don't know. But I have pointed out, particularly in this video of June 8th, the numbers, or the number 7-11, as one of the dates to look out for. Donald Trump is one of the people to look out for, and the location of Dallas for a place where this could happen. Now, I find that Donald Trump is going to be in Dallas tomorrow, delivering remarks at CPAC. So keep your eyes open. We have had what we think is the Hurricane Elsa, referencing Frozen, travel from the Gulf of Mexico, Florida, and go up the East Coast, such as this star indicates, or the point of the star indicates, starting from here and traveling up the East Coast. We then have had the incident in the Gulf of Mexico with the gas explosion. So they say, I really don't know, I'm not underwater, so I can't tell you. I can only tell you what they're telling me, or telling us. So it seems like hurricane and then explosion has happened. Obviously that was kind of recently, so it may be that we're now moving on to an event that causes a tsunami, and that could be connected with the volcanic eruption. If that happens, we'll keep an eye out on Mount Etna and Stromboli, but also Kilauea and Mauna Loa, because those are also two volcanoes that we've looked at, and with the Hawaii and Obama reference, we must keep an eye on those as well. And then the missile launch is what is suggested, and I can only think the missile launch would be an EMP rather than a nuclear attack, and that would obviously connect us to the blackout. Whether that happens over the UK or whether that happens over the United States, I really don't know. The UK is smaller, so one nuclear EMP could potentially knock out the power of nearly the whole country, especially, definitely London. You know, we rely on power quite a lot, all of us around the world, but in big cities particularly. Putting all that to the side, I hope none of it happens, and I pray none of it happens, but we have had some events that do sort of line up with this video. As I said, Hurricane Elsa, Frozen, you've got the icicles in the background, the spinning head, the indication of where the hurricane travels, and then you've got the underwater explosion. We've never had a explosion underwater of any kind in the Gulf of Mexico, but we have had that in the last couple of days, or within the last week or so. And now we're on to 7-11, and Donald Trump is going to be where the interpretation says he is on the date. The reason it's Dallas is because George Bush lived there for a while, and that's why I chose Dallas, the only D that had a connection in terms of location to George Bush. and obviously Donald Trump is, we think, represented in this George Bush character. So you can see why I think there may be something that happens, and I hope nothing does happen, because if it does, then we're kind of like at the beginning of this video where we have the lights have gone out, Donald Trump is gone, and militias are coming out, and things are just falling apart. Emergency lighting is all that's available, as well as torchlight. So if that's the case, just, you know, make sure you got a torch, stock up on some batteries. You know, those things that I'm not telling anyone to panic. I think those things are, you know, good things to have in your household regardless. You know, the power could go out for any reason, storms, blah 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 blah, cyber attacks, stuff like that. Again, that could be another potential interpretation. Instead of a nuclear EMP or a missile that causes a blackout, it could be what's depicted in the beginning of this video with George Bush's tap dancing and his fingers. I think that indicates, I'm not going to play the sound, but if you do want to play the sound, you can go ahead. You'll hear the clickety clackety clack that he's making, and it sounds to me, as I've said before, like keyboard strikes, or keyboard strokes rather, which could, you know, along with the darkness in the classroom that we're seeing here, reference a cyber attack which takes out the electricity, or at least takes out the lights. If that's the case, obviously we've heard a lot about cyber attacks in the last couple of weeks, in the last couple of months rather, should I say, particularly the oil, or was it gas pipeline? Oil pipeline, I think it was, in the United States, and other services as well. So that's something to keep an eye out for. The missile in that case could be a reference to a rocket instead, which if that's the case, tomorrow Richard Branson will be launching into space, and judging from these pieces here, I'm just going to ignore the other interpretation for the image and just focus on it as a rocket. If that's the case, then it seems like there's some sort of breakup in the rocket. I don't think it's the thrusters separating, because that would mean the rocket would be facing this way. If it's facing this way, suggests the breakup of the rocket, and I hope that doesn't happen. But he does seem to be in a bit of a rush to beat Jeff Bezos, and that may be the reason, at least that may be the given reason for an incident like this to take place. Obviously, if that did take place, I don't think Richard Branson would actually have been on board. I think if these events are then starting to unfold, rich people and famous people will be going places, and in order to escape the public eye, some may go to prison, air quotes on that, some may die, air quotes on that as well. So if we do see an event with Richard Branson and his rocket breaks up, he's probably gone off to somewhere to hide. If we do see an incident with Donald Trump at CPAC, he's probably gone off somewhere to hide. And again, if we see something over here in the UK with a football match, and as I've said in my other interpretations, the royal family is mentioned, the Queen is mentioned. So if anything happens over here with them, or a football match where there's famous people, again, potentially gone off to hide, using these events as cover for their disappearance. With all that said, I think that's all I wanted to say. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.